Welcome back to the channel. This is the Action Figure Grader, and I thought today, it's Sunday, let's take another look at some recent sales for Bronze and Copper Age key issue comics. Lots of Star Wars books, but also Spider-Man and a few others that I just thought were interesting sales. And we're going to kind of learn together, because I put this list together last night and I slept like 4 hours, and now I can't remember what I included in this list. So having a little trouble sleeping lately. So I'm a little bit of a zombie today, so you'll have to excuse me if I start mumbling and stumbling over my words. But I think all of these are CGC 9.8s for the most part. And again, all from the Copper and Bronze Age. So let's take a look. We're going to start off with Amazing Spider-Man number 238. I think I have two of these in this list. This is the first appearance of the Hobgoblin. I've got this book myself. This is a great book to pick up right now if you're looking, because it has dropped in price. This one had been going kind of $1,800 to as high as $2,000 for a direct edition 9.8 with white pages. It's a pretty iconic cover done by John Romita Sr. and Jr. So father and son did this comic cover, and it's just an awesome book. This one sold in an auction for $13.51, so this is well down from even 6 to 9 months ago. And then this one sold in a buy it now for $1,500. That's a really good price range to aim for if you're looking for this particular book. $13.50 to about $1,500 for ASM 238 in a 9.8 for the direct edition. Here is ASM 252 in a newsstand, and this one is in an older case style, so keep that in mind. That'll probably discount it by about $100 or $150 thereabouts. But this one had been going kind of $1,500-ish, $1,400-ish, and this one sold in an auction for $11.43. Really great price, and certainly a recent low for ASM 252, which is the first appearance of Spider-Man's black costume, a nice homage to Amazing Fantasy 15. So a great book and a newsstand edition for $11.43, probably at about $150 or so, $1,300-ish for a newer case style. Here was a really interesting sale. I was curious to see if this one would sell or not, but David over at Collectors Comics sold this one. This was ASM 300 direct edition, signed by David Michelin and Todd McFarlane. So double signed, 9.8 signature series white pager, and it was listed for $3,800, and it did sell at $3,800. And you know, for a non-signed 9.8 for ASM 300 in a direct edition, I would probably aim $2,700 to $2,800, somewhere in that ballpark. I have seen them sell as high as $3,000, but pretty iconic book. Obviously, the origin and first appearance of Venom, and what a great book. So that one did sell at $3,800. This is kind of the lowest price range I've seen recently for a direct edition of Secret Wars number 8. This is obviously the origin of the alien symbiote that becomes Venom eventually. This was a direct edition 9.8 white pages, $475, and then this one sold in an auction for a little bit higher, actually, at $488. It did have the custom Secret Wars 8 label from CGC, which might have added a little bit of value to it, but $475 to $490 seems to be about the going rate for a direct edition. Obviously, you're going to pay a little bit more for a newsstand or the Canadian price variant. This is another book I really love. You know, this is kind of a secondary key from the Batman series, but this is the first comic book work by Dan Jurgen, and it's also the first Killer Croc cover appearance where his face is revealed. Killer Croc's kind of a secondary villain, but one of my favorite villains. There's something about this cover. It's from 1983, but there's something about this cover that really screams like more like an older book, and it feels like a Silver Age cover when you look at the comic art. I really love it, and this one sold in an auction for $164 US. This was up in Canada, so 235 Canadian. It did have off-white to white pages. I think if you're going to get this book, get a white pager, because it's not that hard to find. But I do love this cover. I just think it's kind of a nice, relatively inexpensive key from, you know, the early 1980s that I just think is a great book. So if you're looking for a fairly inexpensive secondary Batman key, Batman 359. This one was an interesting sale as well. I was curious to see where this one would end up. And this is another book that has come down in price. This is Captain America number 241, but this is in the newsstand edition. And this is the first meeting between the Punisher and Captain America. And this is a pretty tough book to get in a 9.8 in a direct or a newsstand. But this was the harder to find newsstand, and it did sell in an auction for $7.96. And this one had been going in a newsstand in a 9.8 with white pages for over $1,000. So just one of those books that for whatever reason is not easy to find in a 9.8. And pretty decent cover. I mean, I love the Punisher. Obviously, he's making an appearance hopefully soon in the new Daredevil Born Again series. If you haven't watched it, you got to check it out. I've already mentioned that, but I think I'm through the first 3 episodes. I have not seen this week's episode as of the making of this video, but he supposedly is going to be in the series and by John Bernthal. So that one is a great book to get. A couple of G.I. Joe books, or maybe only one. Yeah, I got 2 G.I. Joe books. This is G.I. Joe number 42, signed by Larry Hama, and this obviously is a Storm Shadow cover, and not a big key issue, but a pretty great cover art, and obviously signed by the man himself. So 9.8 signature series, white pager for $200. That's not a bad deal. But you know, here is one of the big key issues, if not the biggest key issue from the original G.I. Joe run, and that's G.I. Joe number 21, the first appearance of Storm Shadow. It's a silent issue. This was an off-white to white 9.8 grade, and this one sold for $1,800, and to buy it now, I think honestly, if you're patient, you can probably get it for less than that price with white pages. I would try to aim for $1,500 to $1,600 for a 9.8 with white pages versus paying $1,800 for an off-white to white. Maybe I'm being optimistic, but I think that in the current market environment where bronze and copper age keys have dropped in price, this is a book that, in the first print, there are multiple prints for this book, but pretty key issue, great cover, obviously with Snake Eyes there, and this is definitely the most expensive of all the G.I. Joe books. It's even more expensive than G.I. Joe number 1, mainly because of the darker cover. It's harder to get in a 9.8 versus issue number 1. Next up, another one that has been dropping in price for the most part, that is the first appearance of Rocket Raccoon. That is Incredible Hulk number 271 in a 9.8 with white pages. That one sold for $7.49. Again, I think you can probably even get it cheaper than that if you wait for an auction. But, you know, I don't love the cover. I've gone on record on that. It's just kind of a weird cover to me. But, you know, if you like Rocket Raccoon and you like Guardians of the Galaxy, it's certainly one you'd want to have in your collection. But $7.49 is what this one sold for in a buy it now. On to some Star Wars books, and I've got a bunch that I wanted to go through. Star Wars number 1 in an auction, 9.8 white pager. That sold for $25.72. So they are consistently coming down in price, and there have been a lot of additions to the 9.8 census for Star Wars number 1. And I think it's because people are buying the 9.8s, breaking them out, and sending in batches of 25 of them to try and get the elusive 9.9 grade. There has never been a CGC 9.9 for Star Wars number 1, and this is something that was covered by Automatic Comics on YouTube. But someone's making a run at it, and so as a result, they send in batches of 9.8 candidates in batches of 25. They do a CGC 9.9 pre-screening. Nobody's been successful yet. They usually come back at a 9.8 or a 9.6. And so what you're seeing is that the census count for the 9.8s are really going up. It's kind of stupid, if you ask me. But, you know, if you do get lucky and you hit the jackpot, you could list that 9.9 for big time money because it would be a one of one. So I get the idea behind it, but it's exhausting thinking about that, trying to do something like that. And you got to have deep pockets too. You got to have 25 of them, 9.8 candidates. But, you know, as a result, a lot of these 9.8s are coming back up at auction on multiple locations, whether it's Comic Link or on eBay. And it seems like almost every week now we're seeing a 9.8 come up for Star Wars number 1. you know, in a 9.8 with white pages coming up at auction. So this one sold for $25.72, and it's been consistently going down. Buy it nows have been around 3,000, and they've been consistently dropping. So I think if you're looking for a 9.8, try to aim for that $2,500 to $2,600 number right now for one that's super clean like this with no bleed through on the white for the label. This was a very nice copy, and to get it for $25.72, great price. Next up, here was another one that, and again, you know, it kind of supports my argument that buy it now's $3,000. If you wait for an auction, which you shouldn't have to wait long based on how often they're coming up lately, $25.72. So save yourself some money. Wait for an auction for a 9.8 Star Wars #1. This is Star Wars number 21 in a 9.8. This is the first original Darth Vader story, a book I've covered at length. This one has come down in price as well. $200 in a buy it now. Good price on that one. This one did have a little bit of an overwrap. You can see there where I guess it's really an underwrap, not an overwrap, but this is an underwrap where part of the front cover is showing on the back. So that one is a little bit of a discount. Typically they're going $225 to $240 for Star Wars number 21. Star Wars number 42 in a 9.8 white pager direct edition, $990. Good price there, although we have seen as low as $750 lately for the first appearance of Boba Fett and Yoda in standard size US comics. I think this is the only 9.6 I've got in this batch. This is a 9.6 for Star Wars number 68 that's sold in an auction. $255. This is the first appearance of Mandalorians and the planet Mandalore in comics. Another big key issue, but in a 9.6, that one has come down as well. $255 at an auction. Here was Return of the Jedi number 3 in a 9.8 newsstand edition. I always feel like if you can find the adaptation of Return of the Jedi in a 9.8 newsstand, grab it. And it just doesn't pop up that much, it seems like. But a great cover. This is a Bill Sienkiewicz cover. $220 was the sales price on that newsstand Return of the Jedi number 3. On to some more modern comics. Most of these were Bronze and Copper Age, but because this channel is focused on Star Wars and these were recent sales, I did want to show a few of these. This was a newsstand edition of Heir to the Empire number 1 in a 9.8 with white pages. This is a new low for recent sales. This was $690, the first appearance of Grand Admiral Thrawn. This had been going $800 to $900 recently, but in an auction, $690 for a newsstand. Heir to the Empire. This is from 1995. Very tough to get in a newsstand. Not terribly tough, but you know, it's not as common, just given that in the 1990s, newsstands were just not that prevalent. So great deal on that one. Here was Old Republic, Knights of the Old Republic number 42. This is the origin of Darth Revan. This one sold in a buy it now for $225. Not a bad price at all. Great cover. I think if you're patient and see an auction for this come up, I bet it goes even less, probably $200, but $225, that's a price I'd pay in a heartbeat. I actually had this one on my watch list. I've already got one, but I was thinking about picking up a second copy, but I did not. This one did sell at $225. Here's a big one. Now, in all fairness, this one did have a slight crack in the case, okay? And it did have a noted very small spine tick. But it was a 9.8 for Thrawn number 1. This is the Matina variant cover, and very few of these in a 9.8. And this one had been going around $3,000 about a year ago. This one sold in an auction with defects for $756. That is the lowest price I've seen for this book. Now, again, admittedly, it did have a couple of spine ticks, and it also had a cracked case. But that's a pretty decent deal if you could roll the dice, send it back in to get it regraded or recased by CGC and hope that they don't lower the grade to a 9.6. A 9.8 with white pages for Thrawn number 1. This is the 1 in 50 Matina variant. Next up was another pretty tough one for a modern book to find. This is the Comics Pro Virgin Edition of High Republic Adventures number 1. There's less than 100 of these on the census. That one sold for $401. The fair market value on Go Collect's website was about $450, so that was a pretty good deal as well for an auction. Next up, I wanted to show this one. It was a 9.9 with white pages for Darth Vader Black, White, and Red number 1. I love this cover. It's just a beautiful, beautiful cover, and I just wanted to see where it would end up, and it was a 9.9. mint condition. $179.50 on that one. But man, this cover is just, it kind of reminds me of the John Tyler Christopher negative space covers, just given how the Stormtroopers are done. But there's something about that cover that really speaks to me. I love that book. Next up, back to kind of the Bronze and Copper Age keys to round things out. We got another New Mutants 98, the first appearance of Deadpool. This one had the custom CGC label, direct edition, 9.8 with white pages. That one sold for $905. So again, that book is down about 10% from recent sales. They've been going kind of $1,000, maybe even high as $1,100 just a month ago. So in a direct edition, now's a good time to pick that one up because it's down about 10 or 15% in price. And then finally, we had a Wolverine Limited Series #1. This one sold for $525. This was the direct edition. Newsstands have been going $1,000 to $1,200, but for a 9.8 direct edition, $500 to $525 is still about the going rate. Pretty great book there. This is the first solo Wolverine comic book series from 1982. I hope you enjoyed this look at recent comic book sales. Thank you as always for watching, and I'll be back soon.